What's up, everybody? It's showtime at the Apollo. Yeah, or more importantly, the right mindset. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. Welcome. It is Sunday, the 28th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As we always do, we go live and we do the Write a Book with Me series from concept to conception. I'm out of breath. I was chasing the cat. She wanted pettins, so I tried to give her some quick pettins, before we started the show, But everyone's here. We are officially on our 38th episode of Write a Book with Me series. All right, let's see what we got. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got flowers. We got ha 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 ha. Ciao bello, salvea mia amica. Flowers, Emma. Everyone's saying hi. Just stuff in the China doll in the China doll. My brain is all confused. Hey, listen, if anyone doesn't know, we're gonna be working on the book today. We are on chapter 24. So we have 5, 6, 7. We have 4 chapters to go all together, which is pretty. Oh, Indian lentils. Can't go wrong with lentils. You know what I'm saying? A nice cup of lentil soup. I'm making pasta and lemon. Basically, you're saying, hey, Thomas, dinner's ready, but I can't come there because I'm all the way in the States. Hello, what is up? Mrs. Shields is in the house. All right. A couple things before we get started. The poll in the comment section is, where do you find beta readers? We will go over that at the end of the hour. Right now, the choices are writing groups, online communities, friends, family, or ask my pet, obviously. And then, of course, hire them. Hire them. Or, maybe make them lower. Who knows? Hi. Hello. It's very rude of you not to be here. Listen, if I could, I would. If I had the teleportation capabilities, or I was able to freeze time and just walk my mosey on over there, I would. All right. Again, we're going to go over, we're going to be working on my process. If anyone doesn't know, and this is your first time seeing this series, I basically am writing a book. I am writing a book in my process on the screen in real time, so you can see every little mistake, change, adjustment. I also talk through it. If you go back to the beginning of the series, 38 videos ago, you will see that we went over these things already, which is brainstorm with brain dumps, character arcs, short form outlining, extended outline. For the record, if you don't know, and I'm sure you do know, all of this is going to be in the 27 plot point outline. Not what story I'm working on, but I explain my process in great detail, and then I also break down the 27 plot point outline, which is what I am using to write this book, which brings us to where we are. We are on chapter 24. Again, for anyone who's just showing up for the first time, I am using the 27 plot point outline, but I've given myself some restrictions. First, I'm trying to write each plot point within one chapter. However, as we learn, we have to be malleable. We have to adjust as we go. And we found ourselves having to expand some chapters into 2 chapters. It happens, and you have to let yourself sort of be comfortable with that. That's what writing is all about. I know. He said he'd be half an hour. He's late again. Listen, if I was going over the pond and I was going to be out over there, I would try to make it where I was in the middle so I could get some flowers on the left and some Emma on the right, and we could all hang out and have fun and just party all night. Oh, we know. He's very rude. Extremely rude. Also, remember, you could ask questions during the whole process. Don't worry if you interrupt me. If you have questions about your own writing, or you are curious about what I am doing, why I am doing it. Okay, so remember, I'm showing you my process in real time. So if I'm making choices that you yourself are like, well, why is he doing that? And I'm not really explaining it to you, just ask, and I'll be happy to go deeper into it. Also, I'm going to have some writer tips for authors scrolling along the bottom. I have two that I'm going to switch up on. So I'll be filtering through a couple of things while we are working, so feel free to look at the scrolls on the bottom. Other than that, let's get into it. If this is your first time here, this is a zero draft chapter outline. So basically, zero drafts for most people are basically the brain dump where they just onto the page and they write and they see and they're trying to figure out what the book is. This is usually for a discovery writer or intuitive writer. They're going to use the zero draft is going to be their first draft. What is this about? Where is it going? Right. What I like to do is I like to write out loosely using broad general ideas and statements to map out the chapter using the zero draft outline. Why is this important? Well, if you notice, I'm using bullet points. And this actually helps me beat out the pace of the chapter. In this situation, the first bullet point dictates the opening of the beat, whatever beat it is I'm going to be working around in. So this chapter currently has 1, 2, 3 major beats in it, which is good. You know, you got a beginning, middle, and end. Okay, and then as I go in with the bullet points, that's me sort of going a little deeper into each one. Now, what's on the screen right now, this is the extended outline. So I just copy and paste that into my zero draft file, and then I build on it slowly, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. If you don't know the 27 plot point outline or the structure, chapter 24 is basically we are in Act 3, Section 8. The protagonist finds power, and plot point 24, or PP24 we say for short. And this is where the convergence of power within lead to the final battle. This is also known as convergence. So if you're writing a fantasy, this is usually where a lot of the subplots sort of kind of come together and everything leads into one big focus on the final battle. If it's a romance, it's where everybody's sort of like, whatever their side things were, they're finally like, we're going to be together, so this is the last chance, right? If you've ever seen Hitch with Will Smith, this would be, in the movie, this would be where he comes to her and says, hey, I love you. I don't know who this guy is, but I love you, right? So it's leading to that point. So the thing that happens right before that is 24. All right, let's do it. Keep chapter. Yeah, we already know that. We know that. I know that note. Reaches her ship. Avoiding the dangerous environment. Now, I don't write prose in my zero draft. However, it doesn't mean I won't or can't. Everything about outlining is not stuck in a rule. Rules are there to guide you and give you some direction, but just do what you got to do to make it work. So I'm going to be writing the prose in first person. This is obviously not in first person. I want it to be simple, broad, and general, just so like when I'm looking at my notes, I'm not overthinking anything when I'm writing the prose. I just look at that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I got to make this happen, and then I sort of play in that. So that's something to keep in mind. So I'm just sort of like, what are the beats I'll be playing with? That's what I'm doing right now. All right, avoiding the dangerous environment, and the reason I wrote dangerous environment and then go into the detail is because I don't want to. A lot of people say outlining keeps you from the discovery part, like, oh, I want to find the quote unquote story. Well, when I outline, it's plot. What needs to happen no matter what. When I'm writing my prose, that's the story where the plot unfolds through the emotional experiences and choices of the character. So that's my discovery. That's where I discover the quote unquote story. Let's see. I'm actually going to create a second beat here. So Laura, reach the ship, running in after, avoiding the dangerous environment. And now we're in the ship. We're in the ship. We're in the ship. All right, Laura is in her ship, trying to get it ready for takeoff, but mechanical issues. Okay, I like that. Let's see. since they're in a rocky mountain area. Okay. Make sure to see that and make it clear in the previous chapters. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't understand how I do this, basically I'm always giving myself notes. If I come up with something that I don't believe is in a past or previous chapter, I give myself these notes, because what's going to happen is when I finish the 27th chapter of the Zero Draft, I'm actually going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to read through each of the chapters, and I'm going to be taking notes into a huge file that I create as I go through, and then I add these little notes, and then I finally go back and I start cleaning up the Zero Drafts before I even write my first draft. Now, the reason I do that is if we look at my process, this is what I was just talking about. I read through and I organize the plot points. I adjust what I found. So I basically am quote unquote rewriting, but I'm adding to the Zero Draft. I'm not actually rewriting it. I'm just adding to the Zero Draft. And the reason I do that is because I want it to look good for when I give it to my alpha readers. My alpha readers are functional editors, basically. They're reading through it and making sure that everything makes logical sense, that the plot is there, that the plot is unfolding correctly, that characters are making sense and they're consistent with their behavior. And for the record, during the adjust what I found stage of the Zero Draft, I might actually start adding some prose and some dialogue, but I'm not going all in yet. And the reason is because the alpha readers are going to tell me the structural issues that I could then go back and start fixing in the Zero Draft on the foundational level before I get into the heavy prose and writing 3,000 word chapters. Once that's ready, it allows me to focus solely on writing this prose out, and I just fly through it. I'm a very, very fast writer, but I'm very slow on the back end because I'm doing so much technical work, as you can see, because I rather do it in the beginning than write out, because I used to be a pantser. I used to be someone who just wrote it, but I would still end up having to do all the heavy work at the end. So I decided, let me do the heavy work in the beginning, and then it gives me a lot more freedom. You still have work to do at the end. There's always work to do. You know, writing is always rewriting. But okay, just clean this up. Tells her. I switched my pants too. Yeah, but I bet you had really nice pants. Honestly, Flowers, your energy comes off as like like one of those long flowy skirt ladies that moves through the world, and the world just sort of like freezes around you because you're a vampire probably, and you're just not telling anyone. You're making us just believe you are. We know the truth though. We know the truth. Only because it's always nighttime when you're watching show. No. All right, the ship tells. By the way, I like to try to have the name of the character as much as I can in the outline, and the reason is because I need to know who's talking and what's happening to who. Also, in my first draft, I am more prone to write Laura said, or Bill said, or Bob said, or whatever, more often in the first draft, because when I'm doing my second draft, where I'm adding immersion and kind of, it allows me not to second guess myself. I know exactly who's talking, but I slowly try to take away dialogue tags. By the time I get to my third draft, there hopefully is very few dialogue tags, unless they're being used as rhythm and beat controls. But that's just me. Skirts? I live in PJs like Johnny Depp. Well, that's fair. But not when you go out and you party with the other vampires at 2 a.m. Hey, listen, I'm the same way. All right, let's see. Boo, 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 boo. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. So that's what I like about a lot of times my Zero Drafts. The extended outline usually is really pretty straightforward with what needs to happen. So sometimes when I'm trying to do the Zero Draft, when I'm like, oh well, this is literally what needs to happen. That's the thing though. When I'm going from the short form to the extended, sometimes I'm writing out full chapters basically, and they become the Zero Drafts that I end up using, which is fine. The process is ever evolving for everybody, and whenever somebody tells you this is the way, you go, all right, I like the Mandalorian, but I have my own process. But you should be learning things and trying things, and then assimilating and adjusting as you need, because you never know. There's things I do today that I would have never done 10, 15 years ago, just because. Looks out the window. Reaching the game. All right. All right. There's actually. They're supposed to be doing something. I'm looking up a note. Because weren't they like, hey. Okay, yeah. That's right. Okay. Laura is confused at what the love interest is doing. She. Okay. I try to make funny moments too, Laura waves. Laura waves at him. He sees this through the cockpit window. All right. I'm also going to add another quick beat. Okay. Laura is confused at what the love interest is doing. We're going to keep going. The love interest heads into the ship. Watches the love interest appear in the cockpit. Cockpit. All right, there we go. Cockpit. Okay, here we go. All right, now. Oh, hey, Hannah, what's up? I'm currently on chapter 7 in my outline. I'm just going through my first 10 chapters with the 10 plagues that I have as my own, with a paragraph in each one. Then I'll go, that's great. That's great. Yeah. That's how you do it. That's a good way to do it. Write a paragraph, write a couple sentences. Gives you an idea of what's going on. Now, originally, what I was going to do with this chapter was I was going to do soft chapter or hard chapter breaks and switch POVs between the love interest and Laura, but I decided against that. I want it because it is first person, so I sort of want to keep it very focused on one person. All right. Okay. Levers. All right. Ship turns on, and the engines are roaring. Just wondering if you would like to have type a dialogue from my story so you can look at it. Just wondering if you would like to have type a dialogue. Yeah, Hannah, we could definitely do that. Let me get through the first hour with this, and then we could give the floor to everybody watching. Greeting, Thomas and fellow students. What's up, bro? All right, the love interest. We don't need this part. Beep 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 beep. Okay. I have to write this. This is for me. This is a note. All right. Whee! There's a new beat. The creatures are running toward the gang member who is running toward the ship, toward his own ship. I know that own is repetitive, but again, this is just the outline, so don't worry about grammar or spelling. All right. Oh, happens to me all the time, my friend. Happens to me all the time. All right, Laura runs and sits into it. Okay, so a couple of things here. Let's go back. See, we're adding some chunks here. Looks out the window. The kitchen. All right, so this is kind of what I want to do. I want to do this. All right, let's go here. Laura takes care of the needs to get the ship going. The under the ship. Energy. See this in earlier chapters, explaining how she has an old ship. Okay. This means that okay, we'll just worry about that later. All right. By the way, that M dash doesn't mean that I just used AI. I am writing this in real time. It's just AI Thomas, okay? Hey, what's up, JK Lambo? Welcome. All right. Laura gets back to the cockpit. I just like saying cockpit. All right, and looks out the window. All right, now we can go back down here. Hi, just finished cooking for some of our guests. Excellent. I will, if you could please send a bowl to my address, that'd be great. Everyone's eating now, and I'm over here at 2:30, starving. Maybe I'll have a sandwich afterwards. All right. Everyone's making me hungry. I love it. All right. Let's see. Let me go here. Position. All right. Laura runs. She sits, which doesn't start right away. Okay. Laura runs and sits. Well, we don't have to do that. We could just go. All right. Laura starts. There we go. What we got? Hello, Afghani. What's up, Afghani? Welcome. Will do. We cooked, jollof rice with the jerk chicken and peppers and coleslaw. No cake, I'm afraid, because didn't have enough flour and didn't have enough time. That's all right. There's always next month. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, we are going to go over the poll. The poll in the comment section is, where do you find beta readers? We have writing groups, online communities, friends, family, or ask my pet, obviously, and hire them. Feel free to vote on that. We have 7 votes currently, and then we'll be able to get into the fray of it. We'll talk about that at the end of the hour. We got about a half hour before we get to that. All right. I'm going to try to get this chapter and the next chapter done, so let's see what happens. Howdy, Afghani. How are we doing with top fans today? Right now, Hannah Hart's in first place. Emma's in second place. What's going on, Emma? And then, of course, JK just joined us and is already in third place. Hey, look, sometimes we get some comment action. By the way, the comments, the more you interact in comments, that brings you up on the top fan base on the comment board. Yes, I find my beta readers through Twitter and IG. Oh, that's interesting, JK. If you're still here at the top of at the bottom of the hour, is it the bottom of the hour? Yeah, the bottom of the hour. And we talk about it. I'd love to hear some feedback on that. Maybe give some advice on for the others to listen to. All right. How much do people charge for beta reading? Well, it depends. Sometimes it's per word. Sometimes it's per chapter. I know that I do charge for beta reading. I charge more for alpha reading because it's foundational work. But beta reading really depends on who it is, and it depends on how big the book is. Sometimes I just do it, do it as a favor. But it could range. There's a range to it, The thing is, though, like, if you're going to, if you look at it like an editor does, it's like a percentage. It's like a centage. So it's like 1 to 3 cents per word for the piece, whatever the case is. Or they could be like, hey, I haven't been doing this long. I'm just trying to get my name out there. So they'll charge you anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour. But also depending on how long they've been doing it, what kind of, sometimes beta readers are that's their profession, right? That's what they do. And what they'll end up doing for you is they're like, I'm giving you a comprehensive response to this book, and it's strong information, and you yourself as a writer might not have the right questions or know the questions, and they bring that to the table too. So it's pretty good. Can't text and drive. Don't text and drive, my friends. Stay safe. I'm just glad I have your ears. All right. Ooh, great question. I don't charge for beta reading, at least not yet, because I need to get more practice with beta reading other stories. And that's admirable. I don't mind some extra cash. All right. Yeah, which doesn't sound right, but then she cranks, on it as the love interest returns to her ship. Oh, yeah, because it's a joke. Ha ha ha. Okay, perfect. All right, there we go. I'm happy with that. Let's see what we got. 474 words. 400. There we go. Boop. Thomas, what is this? I keep track of my numbers. I'm a big fan of keeping track of my numbers from my note taking, which this is the extended draft. And the zero draft is what we're working on right now. Currently, the book is at 17,121 words, and that's just for a zero draft outline. Now, for reference to that, bear in mind, these are not prose. Prose will heavily increase those. So we're going to get a better idea of how big the book is going to be on the first draft. But my zero draft, because by the time I get to where it needs to be for the alpha readers, my zero draft is going to be much bigger than what it is. Like 474 is going to be a little thicker. And the reason is because that's before I give it to the alpha reader, I'm adding all that extra information that I found. And sometimes I'll start adding more dialogue and some more prose, but I'm not going in on it. It's just, I want to kind of feel what the mood is. So I'll work on that. So that'll increase it. Once that happens, I actually have a formula that tells me how potentially big the chapter could be, which is right here. By the way, this document is available for free in the folder. You can obviously just go to the folder link that's in the description of the video, and also will be in the comments after the video is done being live. But this number at the end right here, this one right here, okay, this, actually, let me make it big for you. That's what she said. All right, so this number right here is based on the zero draft number times 137%. So it's basically double the word count plus 37% more. And that gives me a really good starting point of where I think the final fourth draft is going to end. What's really nice about that is sometimes it ends up being much higher than the chapter ends up being, and sometimes it ends up much lower than what the chapter's being. But it's the end result is usually right there within a nice in the average of that. So is it exact? No, but it definitely helps and it keeps me track. Why do I want to know that? That's a good question. Because sometimes when I'm writing, okay, it tells you like well, if you're following the Patreon tier, you'll learn that there are a couple of chapters that were zero drafts that I ended up going, wait a minute, I got to break this up. In fact, the first chapter in my epic fantasy book ended up being broken up into four chapters. And the reason is because pacing, right? So my word count gives me a little insight into the pacing. Is there too many big chapters together? Is there too many small chapters together? Is there too many quick scenes, big, slow scenes, whatever the case is? So that just gives me a little information on pacing, because pacing is the speed at which information is presented to the reader. The problem with beta readers that you don't pay is that they don't commit to finish the book. Absolutely. I had a beta reader who I love and adore. It's like a brother to me. But he was basically reading a chapter once every 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, could we try to get it every couple days or maybe every week? And then he was like maybe 10 chapters in. And then I had another buddy come in who's like one of my primaries, who like help, he's one of my writing buddies, who we were in the industry together with. And he just went, he just flew through the book and gave me all these notes. And then I had another guy who was flying through it too. So I basically told him, I was like, you don't have to give me beta, just read the chapters. And if you end up liking it, let me know. And he vanished anyway. I was like, all right, whatever. Because when they're doing you a favor, you don't really want to be like, hey, where the fucking, I need the fire. Because, they're doing you the solid. They're doing you the solid. We got 7 votes on the question. By the way, there's 9 people in the audience. There is a poll. Where do you find your beta readers? We're going to talk about it at the bottom of the hour. I don't know what the hell's going on with my brain. The bottom of the hour. Some of the options are writing groups, online communities, friends, family, ask a pet, and hire them. We're going to talk about that. I had people ghost me too. Well, listen. Those people don't get any porridge. That's all I'm saying. It's annoying when they ghost you. It really is, especially if you are paying them. But if they're just hooking you up and they're just being good people to you, it's whatever it is. But I did have a buddy ask me to help him with his book because he did it for me for a favor. And I gave him this deep dive into it, and he was just like, whoa. he's like, you really went in? I was like, well, I approached it like you were a paying client, just so because I felt you deserve it. And he's like, all right. And now every time I have a book, he's like, send me your book. And I'm like, all right. And I get to send him the book. So it was a nice little payoff. It helps to print the book from experience that raises the chance they'll finish it significantly. Yeah, that could definitely help, because it's also like a nice, it's like a specialty item. It's like you're getting the book before it's really worked, and now it's a collectible, not whatever the case is. I personally asked for PDFs only because my dyslexia, and on my screen I can make it really big, and the bigger it is, the easier it is for me to read. And I'm also getting old, so my glasses alone aren't always helping. But But also, I like to leave notes in the PDF. I do notes on the side too. But there's like a sort of like my first read notes that I put on the PDF. Like if I like oh, this is really good immersion. Oh, I really like this. Oh, the character stands out. Like I'll write notes like that. You can't. I can't really do that when I'm reading a book. It will cost a lot of money once I become the next J.K. Rowling. Yes, it will. All right, where are we? Chapter 25. For anyone who doesn't know the 27 plot point outline, and for anyone who does know the 27 plot point outline, Chapter 25, this is going to be the 25th plot line. So we are officially in Act 3, Section 9, which is the protagonist fights and wins. So plot point 25 is the protagonist has one last battle. This is the battle begins, all right? This is not the climax. This is not the end of the battle. This is where the battle begins. The battle begins, all right? Laura Olivia flies her ship off the planet, reaching the outer space. Reaching outer space. Because she had to let the ship go. I'll explain what that is in a second. I just wanted to make sure I got that out of my brain. Computer says that she's going too fast. We'll figure this out. Energy is could leak. Oh, actually, I could just. All right. Or slows the ship. All right. Or and the love interests feel like they made it, and there are no hyperspace elements around this moon. Since it's a dangerous one, and there are no settlements or communities. All right. Staying the course, the gang leader shows up. All right. I'm gonna go back to 24 real quick. Okay, there we go. That means I gotta do the word count again for a 90 tree. Okay. All right. The reason I did that is because in this moment, we want them to sort of get to outer space, and then the gang leader sort of pops up. All right. Staying the course, the gang leader shows up, shooting at them. In space, no weapons, and she's trying to avoid all the shots, and the love interest telling her to keep going. Give it a moment, just work to avoid destroying the ship. It's because the ship is also weak. Remember that from 2 chapters ago. Laura says that it's all she's doing. She still hasn't paid off the ship, and I don't want to have to pay more than the ship beggars. Whereas, The gang, the gang member gets closer and closer. It appears like they are going to finally shoot Lauren, but then, oh, told you it's not that fast. Oh, the ship blew up. I told you it's not that fast. All right. Some of you might be thinking, hey, Thomas, you said this at the beginning of the battle. It seemed like the end of the battle. No. Remember, the central conflict for Laura Olivia is getting home. She keeps slowly destroying the ship and making it a little harder. So, right now, her ship is missing the undercarriage, right? Which is affecting, like, potential radiation of the space energy getting in. Her ship is weak. They don't have the hyperspace things. Okay, so there's still sort of like, will they, won't they get home? So that's where we're at with that. All right, let's see. What I could do is the ship says that there is a major issue. Dun, dun, dun. All right, there we go. And then that could be about, we could play with that in the next chapter. 207. Boom. All right. Call this, what do we call this one? We call this, what should we call this one? I'll just call it Outer Space. Outer Space. And this one is Get the Ship Started. Get the ship started. Here we are. We're on 26. For anyone doesn't know, 26. This is Act 3, Section 9. Plot point 26 is the protagonist succeeds or fails. If they fail, it's usually because of a fatal flaw in their character. In this case, Laura Olivia is going to succeed, obviously. So this is the climax. Will she, won't she? Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, the wormhole. All right. First planet. Having located a hyperdrive. Device. Hyperdrive device. All right. Remember, all great writing is all great writers have great editors. All right. They need it, or they get home. All right. And remember, the computer is sassy. All right. All right. Okay. It won't be. Okay. They find the hyperdrive in space. Because remember, in the first chapter, we learned that these hyper devices park outside planets, and you could hook the ship up to them, and that's how they do hyperspace. Newer ships can do hyperspace whenever they want, but her ship is old. All right, so they find, I should say, Laura. All right. Able to attach to it. Now, the reason I'm trying to get them to attach to it as quick as possible is because the wormhole thing is going to be where the tension and stakes are. It's going to be very scary. I'm back. Had to step away for a moment to assist a customer. Well, you tell that customer they owe us $1 into the jar of distraction. All right. I'm actually going to do this. All right. Dialogue. All right. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Laura says that the ship won't be able to handle such craziness. It's too dangerous. The love interest explains that they don't have enough fuel to get to another planet the long way, so they need to figure out a shortcut. The place. All right. Hard chapter break. Hard chapter break. I don't know about you all, but I like a nice hard chapter break. You know what I'm saying? All right. Boop. See how I have some dialogue in here? It's just it's just random. Doesn't mean it's the dialogue I'm gonna use. All right. Ooh. I like that. See, I like moments like this because it shows you, like, she's not an idiot. She's a smart character. She's willing to put the ship in danger, to get to the fix it all. But all right, okay. The explosion pushes them through the wormhole. End of the chapter. Okay, boom. I like that. All right, so there's two scenes to this one. So we have 202. 202. Oh, there it is. All right, let's see. Running out of gas. Do. Okay, and then this is through the wormhole. I think that's one word, right? Wormhole. Let's see. Wormhole. I think it is. Yeah, wormhole. Wormhole. Look at this wormhole. Alright, right here. Boop. 154. Ooh, I went down. That happens. Alright, everybody. We have one more chapter to go, but I think I'm going to save the chapter for next week because, give myself a chance to breathe a little bit. But I think we did well. Chapter 7 is pretty long, too. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, there's two hard chapters. There's 3 scenes. Yeah, we'll just leave that for next time. All right, let me see. I want to do, let's see, because Hannah Hod is sending me some stuff, so I want to set up a page to look at that real quick. What we got here? You mentioned word counts for different genres. How rigid are those limits? I love that you use the word rigid. Honestly, this is the reality of it. There's word count affects a few things, okay? It affects the cost of the book because of the size of the book, but it also affects the pacing of the book. But this is the thing. Fast reads and slow reads are different than pacing, right? If a book is pretty large, but the reading has a fast read to it because it has a logical narrative movement and all that other stuff, the length of it's not really a big deal. So as far as the word count goes, it's playable. The big issue is the cost of the book. If you're looking to get traditionally published, word count really affects the potential for being picked up because they're like, how big is your brand? What is your audience base? Do you have supply and demand? Is there a demand that we need to supply? If no, then, shorter books would probably benefit you. So 90,000 words, 81,000 to 90,000 words would be a solid book. That's usually 27 to 28 chapters, which is pretty common, right? And that's for any genre in general. However, when it comes to like epic fantasy, what do you have to do in that? Well, you got to explore a little bit more world building. You got to play a little bit more in the ordinary world, right? The midpoint conflict is a little thicker. So the book will pop up a little bit and you might get 32, maybe even 34 chapters. You'll hit 120,000 words, right? So you have that kind of playroom. So to answer your question more directly, how rigid are those limits? It depends on what your end goal is. Obviously, if you're self-publishing and you're concerned you don't have a massive fan base and you're worried that readers won't purchase your book because it's 300,000 words, well, that is the limit for you. You have to say to yourself, is this going to get people to read a 300,000 word book? If not, then you could either break that book up into 2 books or 3 books. If you're writing romance, though, honestly, you don't want a book to be more than 100,000 words for a romance. You want it to be a nice, tight, sit down, cozy. But again, if we go back to mystery and crime, right? You got to set up the crime, the context. You got to have them investigate the crime and the context. You got to push back a little bit and do a twist. You got to, the midpoint conflict is going to switch everything around and add new information. So the book is going to be a little longer than 81,000 words. So genre is important as far as like what people are expecting. Cozy romance, they're not expecting 200,000 words. So you sort of have to use your brain a little bit and think about what the audience is expecting if you're self-publishing. If you're traditionally publishing, you got to think about your brand, your value, your demand, and how that'll influence an agent or a publisher representing you. I self-publish. My self-help books, the first one is about 100,000 words. But the second, third, fourth, and fifth one, the word count is more around 6,000 to 7,000 words. 60,000 to 70,000 words per book. And the reason is because the first book sets up the series and adds a little bit of extra stuff, and then the other books are sort of a little bit more focused and refined. There is one book that's about 40 to 50,000 words. I got to look at it again, but it's the book on Tact, The Art of Conversation, right? So I was willing to go to 100,000 words for the first book because I knew it was setting up the foundation. It's literally the foundation for longevity, right? But I know that self-help books shouldn't be that long, so I shrunk it down as I went on. As far as the epic fantasy goes, I'm trying to stay around 150 to 250,000 words, but we'll see what happens. From my limited past experience, editing meant an increase in word count. I don't really want that to happen with this book. I'm a tad concerned. I mean, editing could go either way. If you saw, you commented on my post yesterday where I did some editing for the first 5 chapters and I just took off 1,500 words or whatever it was, because I was cleaning up a lot of stuff. When you're editing your book, you should be looking for ways to basically remove redundancy, smooth things out, A comma splice might be more effective than, and then that happened, writing like a sentence. There's so much you could do to reduce your word count before you add to it. I'll be honest though. What you should be looking for is, does everything on the page move plot, character, and world forward? Or are you sitting in descriptions? Are you sitting in exposition? If that's the case, those things can be easily cleaned up, shrunk down, and manipulated into the other experiences, the plot forward, character development, and or world building. And that'll help with your word count for sure. Hey, Ro. Hi, Hannah. Hey, Evgeny. All right, Hannah Hart. Let's do some... Hannah Hart wanted me to look over her dialogue. So let me set up a page. All right. Boop. All right. Boop. I will find out when I start. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Hey. All right, let's go back to Hannah Hart. Hannah Hart. Let's see. How do I... I'm gonna have to type it. I'll type it and then we'll put it. Thalen, the angel of healing, looks over at Dawnheart and Brearheart to see what's going on. Dawnheart and Brear. Yeah, and that's a fair yeah. So like even with my process, the first draft is usually prose. I'm just prosing it out. The second draft is where I'm adding immersion. The third draft is where I'm basically trying to figure out what to clean up and stuff like that, and where to limit everything. All right, let's get into it. So Hannah Hart gave me the permission to look at her work, and we're gonna play with the dialogue. Nods. Hannah, are you still in the room? If you're not in the room, I'm not going to do this because, it's beneficial to you. It's beneficial to everyone else, but I also want you to feel like that. So, Hannah, are you here? If not, we can move on to the... Ooh, somebody voted writing groups. I like it. Oh, all right. Hey, what's up? All right, let's get into it. Is there anything specific you want me to look at, or just this quick dialogue? Is there anything specifically you're looking for? Do you have anything more than this? Is this all you have? Do you want maybe give me another piece of dialogue or something, or that moves? Like what's after this? Read my son's 2 books. They are called Mental Math and Dogmas of the Church. They are by Harry Lima, which is my son Hess Young. My son. He's young. I'm sorry, I have dyslexia, so sometimes. Wow, Carla, hey, how's it going? That's great. Harry Lima, author. Oh, there he is. Dogmas of the Church. Look at that. Oh, excellent. Look at that. Very cool. All right. I'll check that out. I put it on my favorites to check out later, Carla. All right, Hannah, let's go over. I'll look at this. Okay, so for anyone who's watching, Hannah wants me to kind of go over a dialogue and give her some feedback on this. Right off the bat, there's a couple things I would do. First is there are filter words, and this is telling. Thalen, the angel of healing, looks over at Dawnheart and Brearheart to see what's going on. The way I would approach this is, what is Dawnheart and Brearheart doing? right? Like, what are they actually doing? That would be what I would just describe. However, Thalen the Angel, I wouldn't use the whole name in. First of all, you're going to be eating up your word count far too quickly if you're doing that. Search mental math also his mental math. Harry Alina. Mental. Oh yeah, ancient coins to crypto. Oh, well that's the. I'm definitely gonna read that book for sure. That's I like that kind of stuff. All right. Could you add with their eyes half blind after? Well, could you add with their eyes half blind after Thalen? Looked at Thalen with their eyes half blind? Like that? All right. Anyway, so I would definitely get rid of using the full name. Hi, Carla. Using the full name every time might get a little, wordy. So you wanna just be like it's Thalen. Thalen's a good name, by the way. All right. It's free with Kindle Unlimited subscription. Fantastic, Carla. That's awesome. It's very cool. We like to support. It looks like he's self-published, so we definitely like celebrating and supporting independent writers here. All right. So again, Hannah, the first thing I would be trying to do is like, what are these two characters actually doing, instead of using looks over at. Okay. And by the way, again, Thalen, the Angel of Healing. We don't really need all that, but like if you're gonna Thalen. Crouched, adjusting her boot. I'm assuming Thalen, his boot? Is Thalen a girl? I don't know. His boot. All right. Dawn Hart. All right. I don't know what's going on in this scene right now, just so you know. I'm willing to beta read, but I have two stipulations. No sexual content, no cursing, every other word, sentence. Hey, that's the way you gotta do it, So basically, Ro will not beta read romance. All right. Before I get into this, Hannah, what is going on? Like, what are they doing? Give me some feedback on what they're doing, so I could sort of like physically write out what they're physically doing. Most people are, though. All right, because honestly, right now, what it should just be is you want to give this some like they wouldn't say their names. You don't have to say their names. No vampires for Ro. Yeah, that's right. Recommend it to your friends because I have 0 sales. I want it to boom, but not for money, but for worldwide recognition. Hey, Carla, that's great. I really hope that helps, and I hope you can help your son get some recognition. That's awesome. They're falling away from their faith, and no. What are they physically doing? Oh, I see. They're falling away from their faith, and the curse of the dead-end faith is consuming their bodies as the other curses are happening around them. Or angels. Excellent, Carla. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for your son. Woo-hoo-hoo! It's fantastic. It's very hard to publish a book, let alone 2, so that's great. Specifically non-sex. I'll read romance. Flowers write a story about vampire hunters. All right. Crouched over, grabbing the wall. Uh, all right. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. All right. This is at the beginning of chapter 5. The pestilence. Pestilence. So they're in a protective grove. That's all right. Well, I'm not gonna write what you have. I'm just showing you how to change it from being telling and filter words to something that's a little bit more straightforward. KDP is so efficient, it makes a book half shorter in time because it all web registers. And it really does. KDP is fantastic, as they say. Fantastic. I'm a fan of the KDP. Let's see. Oh, all right. What do we got here? What do we got? All right. What do we got? Ro, I think sex scenes are pretty much a given in romance books. It's porn for women. I like the instructive genre, not fiction. Oh, the you like nonfiction. You like nonfiction. All right, so Hannah Hart. So look, first and foremost, what we're seeing here is this is considered telling, and we have the filter word looks. It's what you should be trying to do is describe what it is that Dawn Hart and Braveheart are doing. Create movement on the page, right? And then allow Thalen, the angel of healing, to have to react. I'm not saying to write exactly what I wrote down here. What I'm trying to show you is how you create movement, right? So instead of having Thalen look at Dawn Hart and Braveheart, and then you have her literally say Dawn Hart and Braveheart again, what's going on with your bodies, what you can do is have something happen to their bodies. Literally show, write out the physical function of their bodies doing something, and then Thalen can react to that, and that creates movement, that creates character choices, right? That becomes the story. So Thalen, instead of saying exactly what's happening, you don't want to double down on things. You know, it's too redundant. So you want to create an emotional response, either physically or emotionally or through dialogue. And if we already see that Dawn's Dawn Hart is collapsed over, or Dawn Hart's body is shivering or shaking, you're allowing the audience to already know what's going on, right? So you don't need Thalen to be like, your body, you're convulsing, right? And you don't need Thalen to say, Dawn Hart, your body is convulsing. Oh my God, Braveheart, you fell and hit your head. Like, you don't need them to recite that. You need them to respond to what's happening. When characters respond to the world around them, now they're moving. There's movement. It's emotional or physical or spiritual or whatever the case is. So dialogue, to make it sound natural, has to come from the response. So you have to create positions. I don't know what Thalen, the angel of healing's emotional connection is to all this. I don't know what their understanding of the situation is. I don't know how much they know about things. So all that creates the position of how they're going to respond to it emotionally and physically. In fact, in my example, I have Dawn Hart collapse, and then blood curl, right? And then Thalen ran to them, and then Braveheart collapsed, and Thalen ran over to them. So it gives them a choice. You know, now they also have to, like, who's the more concerned? Who should I be more concerned with? But we're also creating tension and stakes because Braveheart just hit their head. Okay, so there's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement happening in a short amount of space. Whereas with the original, this is telling through a filter, looks over at the two people to see what's going on. We don't need to tell the audience that they're looking over to something to see what's going on. We need to see what's going on. It's more important that you write out what's going on than it is to tell somebody, hey, Thalen is looking at what's going on. All right? This is expositional dialogue. Dawnheart, what's going on with your body? It's moving the plot forward through dialogue and not necessarily saying anything. So you want it to say something through Thalen. And then you have both characters' names again, and you say that they look at Thalen with their eyes half blind. We cannot experience Dawnheart and Breeheart that effect because we are in Thalen's POV. If you're going to jump to one or the other, you need to use a transition. However, in this case, you're actually in two heads at the same time. You've switched to two POVs in the same passage and then allowed them both to say something to it. So that's what head hopping would look like. Should I rewrite what you wrote down? I don't think you should write what I wrote. I think you should take what I wrote and use it as a guide to say, how can I show what it is in my head and what I think is physically happening to these characters' bodies. All right. They're also half doe, half fairy, just to let you know. Yeah, none of that matters. It doesn't, unless being a half doe or half fairy, the way what color blood do they have? How are they physically affected by it? Like any of that might matter. But if you notice, I'm trying to write through physical movement, and I'm trying to find I don't know what the emotional beat is. I don't know what their relationships to each other are. So obviously, I can't write more than showing what is basically happening. In this situation, though, I would recommend not necessarily writing what I wrote, but figuring out how to write out what it is that is physically happening to both Dawnheart and Breeheart, and just write that. You do not need to have Thalen look at them to see what's going on. If you just establish the POV of Thalen, that's fine. What else we got here? What's it say? I don't know. What's going on? All right. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. My computer was freezing. All right. Let's see. Where are we? And half fox flowers. Okay. I don't know what a half fox glove flowers. I'm back. Not all. I've read a few that are not. Oh, you're talking about the romance. Anyone interested in my son's book, please feel free to buy. I also had 7 other angels looking at them as well, but I just wanted to have Thalen. Again, you could have 7 other angels, but you don't have to have them. You don't have to write 7 other angels looked at them, because it's from somebody's POV. So whoever's POV it is, what are they seeing? What are they experiencing? If you're going to have, don't get me wrong, in third-person limited rotating, you can transition to other POVs. But right now, if I were you, I'd practice staying close limited. Unless you want to do omniscient, you could do omniscient, which would be. Right. Shadows and movement. Right. This is omniscient, right? So, both Dawn, right? That would be redundant, so we don't need that. So Dawnheart and Brea fought through their pain, clutching at their stomachs. They sat in the blindness of shadows and movement, right? So that would be omniscient because but you'd have to write it all in omniscient then. You'd have to, the other angels, the other 7 angels watched on. in horror. Right? I wouldn't write that though. That's just basic. But the other seven angels watched on in horror as Thalen held their hand, held Dawnheart's head up. Whatever. So that becomes omniscient though, because we're just all over. You know, we're not really settled into one person's experience. It's more like, I don't really like writing like that. But should I wait until a later draft to write the prologue epilogue? I've outlined the last chapter today. That's a great question, Flowers. Honestly, if the book is almost done, just finish the book and then try to figure out what it is the prologue could do to add to that, and also what an epilogue could do. Traditionally, what I do is I start at the beginning and I go right to the end. So I'll usually write the prologue first, only because the outlining allows me to kind of do that work, because I'm outlining the whole narrative. So basically, I gotta look at it and be like, what would be an effective prologue for this, and how do I want to end with the epilogue? How am I going to be seeding a sequel? Am I going to be seeding a resolution? Am I what am I doing? Am I paying off something? Am I allowing a character to grow? Whatever the case is, and then I'll already kind of know that before I get to writing. But if you're already almost done with your book, just finish the book and then use the book to sort of dictate what elements we. However, romance is not my first choice of genre. I like reading erotica, but I like it when it's redacted. You know, when I'm just where everything that's interesting is redacted, and it's just I'm reading like Christopher stepped through the door, his shirt burst open, and Aaliyah. And then it cuts. I have to read through the redactive, right? And then you go, they woke up the next morning, and I'm like, no, that was good. That was good. It's my last, bro. Afghani, we know you like erotica. My two main character princesses are cursed, so they're now called. All right, I can't pronounce those words. Fracture vein shards. Fracture vein shards. They are spreading the first 4 plagues or curses. All right, well that's plague. I mean that's plot. That's plot. Can I message you about that tomorrow? Yeah, 100%, Flowers. You don't have to ask. You have an open door. You have an open door policy with me. All right. Thank you. Please recommend it by Mental Math by my. Absolutely, Carla. And remember, before you go, Carla, if you didn't know, you can find my book, which is Breaking Down Success, and it's right on makearightleftheere.com. That's right, makearightleftheere.com. Please tell everybody you know about it. We're trying to sell that and get it going. The book's been doing really well on the Amazon. It's all about the foundation of longevity. It's the first book in 5 series. I think you would really enjoy it. In fact, your son might enjoy it too. It's a good, strong book. It is also on KDP. But more importantly, if you didn't know, you could also be heard the sort of bloop bloop and purchase my merchandise, which is available on makearightleftheere.com. Carla, if you or your son want anything, just let me know. Go to makearightleftheere.com. Please bloop the beard and bloop that button. All right. Where are we going? And it's really good. Thank you, Emma. I appreciate that. Emma, did you finish the book? I would love to know. I would love to read your review on it. Buy Thomas's stuff now. Thank you. Yes, I'm reading. You're on it. Flowers is reading the book. Buy Thomas's stuff, cause be heard. It is damned fine. It is making me all like blushy. And Carla, even though I know you said you don't really like fiction, I do have a fiction book available, Death of the King. You just go to makearightleftheere.com, and then you go to Patreon. And if you pay for the tier, not only can you read the book, but you can also learn a lot because it is an educational tier. It teaches you about the behind-the-scenes stuff, and etc. Hey, what do we got? The false crimson fragile perfection is where the skin is glass like shards with red spider Well, that's a pretty cool visual. That's a pretty good visual. And one more thing, Carla, just so you know, this book is almost done. If you didn't know, the 27 plot point outline when plot meets story. That's right. You too can learn how to plot like Thomas J. Bellezza, and the book's available on makearightleftheere.com. I really think your son will benefit from that kind of book if he decides to move on to something a little bit less nonfiction and goes to long form writing. I guess that's it. Oh, let's get into it. Boop, 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 boop. Where do you find beta readers? Okay, for anyone who hasn't voted yet, we still have time. We have options. We have it's in the comment section if you haven't seen it. Where do you find beta readers? Writing groups, online communities, friends, family, or ask my pet. Which, let's be honest, a dog's opinion is moot, but a cow's opinion is moo. All right, and then of course the final one. Hire them. Yeah, no, I agree. I think we need one of these late. Obviously, my humor is great, right? Everybody, you love it. Hey, calm down. Come on. Free hugs for everybody. I won you all back. All right. Cat's opinion is it's food time. That's very funny. I have author friends who write in the same genre, and we swap manuscripts. Oh, I like it. Do you guys read the manuscripts or you just swap them? You go, here, you have this, I'll take that. No, you have this, I'll take that. All right, let's end the poll. Boop. All right. By the way, I love Emma's answer. This is a really good thing to do, especially if, A, you can't afford or you're on budget or whatever the case is to hire somebody, because I know that could be difficult for some people. Writing groups, if you're not able to leave the house or you have agoraphobia or in some turns you're an introvert, so you might not be able to get to writing groups. And of course, online communities where we are right now. Thomas, don't be silly? Never. But it is really good advice because at the end of the day, you know, your circle of influence, which I do talk about in the book. Carla, if you haven't checked it out on makearightleftheere.com, the book does talk about how you build circle of influences, which actually help your career, and also talks about marketing and how to basically sell a book. So it's really good. There are experts, and we can be honest with they're experts, and we can be honest with each other, as opposed to people who aren't experts. We lie out our teeth. But if you're an expert, we're honest. But if you're not an expert, we lie. However, friends, family, or your pet, your circle of influence is a great way to start, especially if you're really getting into writing and you haven't really jumped fully in, or you're trying to discover your voice, or you're not ready to market 1,000%. That is true. Yeah. But again, you know, like, I've had my mom say, that's really great. And I'm like, oh, what was your favorite part? You know, and they're like, oh, I liked all of it. And then it just turns out that they didn't read it, you know? So, you know. Could ghostwriters help you with your story? I was told that they could help write your story if you give them ideas. Ghostwriters could absolutely write your story. Most likely they could also help you develop your story. But that's expensive. I know I charge a pretty penny to ghostwrite. If anyone doesn't know, ghostwriting is very lucrative and highly worth it, other than the aggravation sometimes you get from dealing with people. My stuff must be better than yours, because people always remind. Well, you know, my mom. Let's put it this way. Sorry. My mom once bought a book for me. And then she bought 2 books for her friends. And she didn't read these books, by the way. And she asked me to sign the books. Okay? So I signed the first book. And she goes, no, I want you to really sign it. And I said, I did. I signed it. That's my signature. And she goes, no, I want your real signature. So I had to sign it where it was legible, I guess. Like I just was like Thomas J. Bellezza, and she's like, "That's better." So she gives her friend the one that I sign, and she keeps the one that she wanted me to sign nicer. But the one I signed for her friend was my signature. So that should give you a little insight. It wasn't that it was better or not. It was, you know. Also, she was always like, you should cut your hair. You should, and then when I was like on TV or I got hired because of my hair, she's like, I'm so glad I encouraged you to have your hair. So that's a bad example to suggest. Your mom didn't read it either. But friend, yeah, sometimes. But the thing is, all right, here's the real skadoodle. Oh, I wonder which copy will be worth more. Probably the one with my real signature, since the other one we buried with my mother, so she had to read it. I will fight her. Well, she has passed away, so you might win that fight. I would say the ground and cement surrounding her would be what would probably wear you out by the time you got to her, but I think you still have a fighting chance. But going back to beta, an easy win. I don't know. I would have hidden her scissors. Well, I moved away. That was really the solution. Is I became an adult and decided at 18 I'm going to move out, and I never went back. What was I saying? Oh, beta readers. Oh my God, we have the worst sense of humor. We do. I think it's the best kind of humor. But anyway, going back to beta readers. The thing is, friends, family, those are good places to go if you just don't have a community or you're not really involved with the writing community. But let's be honest. When it comes to beta readers, you want people to give you their experience of the book. Alpha readers are foundational. They're looking for the universal skeleton, does the plot work? Are the characters working? How's the pacing? Like, they're looking for the things that you probably want people that understand writing a little deeper than not. With beta readers, you want to find people that, A, very much like the genre you're writing in. So obviously, Ro was saying he doesn't really like romance. So he would be a bad choice to have as a beta reader for romance. But if he's like, I really like action adventure, then if you wrote an action, he would be a prime beta reader, right? You don't necessarily need someone who understands the craft of writing to be a beta reader, though not that wouldn't help. You know what I'm saying? It might actually hinder, I'll be honest, because they'll be looking for things that an alpha reader should be looking for. When you're like, look, I just need what is your emotional experience of reading this book? But the other thing is, if they're not avid readers, that's also an issue because, they won't have a vast collection of experiences to really rate what your book feels like, So there's a couple of things you should be looking for, especially if it's just friends, family, or your pet. Now, a pet, honestly, anyone could read. As a cat, they're probably going to take a nap on it, but that's besides the point. But that's why it brings me to online communities. You should be trying to get involved like this. We have an online community. Read my son's book, Mental of Church. Hey, Carly, you have a good day. And remember, you could find my book on makearightleftheere.com. I recommend giving a little look-see. If you and your son reach out to me and email me, I could sell you one directly. And then maybe we could talk about what we can for the sale of that book. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So that's why, just like this is an online community of people. We're getting to know each other. There's the writing group that I have on Facebook. There's obviously you can interact with each other on the Patreon. Hello! Flowers is a part of that community. Flowers is an avid reader. Flowers is an author. She has several books. She's working on a book. So, the online community is here and willing. You just need to sort of like build that relationship, build that trust, and then feel free doing that. Now, as far as writing groups go, I think that has its pros and cons. I've been in several writing groups that I didn't necessarily run. I was just sort of like in them, and it was very like, uh, I'm here for my book. Like that was the feeling that the other, I came in and I didn't even offer to put my book on the table. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, let's read, let's see what everyone else has. I just want to get involved. But it always felt like, hey, it was, and I've been in a couple groups. However, the writing group that I had in the theater that I created when I owned the theater, that was a little bit more productive because, again, you want somebody that's sort of like running the group. Somebody that's like, all right, let's do this, do this. All right, here's some questions. What are your thoughts on that? And sort of like kind of directs it. That ends up being really helpful and I think that would be a pro if you find somebody that has a little bit more proactive approach to it. So that's my insight in those things. But, hiring them, obviously you want to find somebody that's been doing it for a while, because if you're going to pay money for it, you might as well get the good value. I would also take note of what they're pointing out, like what kind of things they're talking about and answering, because that could help you when you do ask a friend or a family, or you do work with online people, or you do have a writing group, because again, those are professional beta readers. So that's something to think about. Anyway, all right, that was a lot of fun. Whew. Oh, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the channel. That all helps the algorithm. It boosts it up. It does a little something, something for the page. So just keep that in mind. And also, we want to like the video if possible. All right, what do we got here? What do we got? All right, any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, anything going on? Flowers already told us how well she's doing. Afghani finished his draft. I'm very excited for him. What else? Emma is writing and plotting books. If you don't know Emma, the Bennett of Emma, who has the worst sense of humor, she is an editor. She does line editing. She does a lot of fun stuff. Thank you. I'll just drink my tea. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was saying. Yeah, Emma is an editor. She does line editing. She does a lot of great meow. So that's really great. I'm really proud of all of you, everybody that's in this room. From Ro writing his book, and Hannah Hart, going through her book, and I'm proud. I support your effort to let me look at your stuff and give you some advice in editing it. I know how difficult it is and tough it is to just have somebody analyze your material, especially in an atmosphere like this. So, I'm honored and blessed that you gave me that trust. So I appreciate that. But, at the end of the day, we are a community here, and seeing everybody doing what they're doing, getting their books out, making things happen, I think that's really beautiful. And, congratulations to everybody that's just kicking butt out there. I will soon go back to my first book. Oh, wait. Yeah. And get it ready to publish. Afghani, we want to know the moment it is published because, sir, you can put a link in here. And hopefully it doesn't compete with Harry's book. Because obviously... One second. This looks like an interesting book. Let's see. Harry Lima. He's got, what is this? He's got 3 books out. Actually, it looks like he has 6. He has 3 versions of each book. Interesting. Oh, look at that. People want, hey, yeah, I'll add you. Approved. People send me friend requests. That's nice. That was nice. Anyway, other than that, I guess I could turn that off. All right, everybody. I had a lot of fun today. We have one more chapter to go for Write a Book with Me, from concept to conception. Once I am done with that chapter, I promise you, it's going to get even more fun, because what's going to happen is I'm going to finish that chapter, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to read each chapter and start taking notes. I'm going to show you how I take notes. I'm going to show you the sheet that I use to take notes and how I organize it and keep everything sort of on track. Once I read through all 27 chapters again, I will not be editing. I will not be adding or subtracting to those chapters. I will just be reading and taking notes into a separate file. At the end of that process, I will then go back and I will start adjusting those chapters. Now, of course, we will not do the alpha stage as far as me sending it off and waiting for people to read the book and the chapters, because then, like we were talking about, this series would never end because, you know, they won't finish the books. But what we will do is I will act as an alpha reader for a couple of chapters, only a couple of them. I will show you questions that you should be asking alpha readers and what you should be trying to get back from them, and if you are going to alpha read for somebody, what you should be looking for in those reads, especially for a 0 draft or a first draft, and basically how to notate that and how to, you know, what to do with those notes. Obviously, during that stage, I would love to have your insight, too, as the audience, where you'll be able to give me feedback on the chapters and say, you know, what you like, what you don't like, or whatever the case is, based on the alpha questions. We'll do sort of like a ba-ba-ba. At that point, after that, we will adjust based on the alpha notes, and then we will move into the first draft, and that's where we get to write the prose. So I think we'll be up to the alpha questions probably in 3 more sessions. I think so. I believe so. That's my gut feeling, because I definitely can read through the chapters fairly quick and take notes. That part's the easy part. The editing, we'll see. It's going to be small adjustments. We're not going to be adding great detail. But, like, for example, one of the chapters, the 0 drafts, we saw that I had to go back and seed stuff. So basically, if I see that note in my note sheet, I will just go back to earlier chapters and be like, you know, I'll just add a note that says, all right, I need to seed this information. And then while I'm writing the first draft, what do? I add that information. So that's why it's not too crazy. A lot of people are like, oh, that's a lot of steps. And it's like, they're not full-on reconstruction steps. They're, you know, little look-sees and little this and that, you know. All right. Other than that, if you haven't already, please buy Carla's son's book. If you have, what's today? Oh, today's Sunday. All right, let's do this. All right, before we go, let me tell you what's happening next week. Next week. Man, it's getting further and further right on this thing. All right, so next week, on Wednesday, I've just had a look. I won't be. You're telling me their sales pitch wasn't intrusive, invasive, or respectful? All right. So this coming Wednesday is October 1st, the whole next month. All right. So Wednesday's video is a pre-recorded video. It is going over writing advice. It'll be about navigating criticism, how to use feedback to grow without losing your confidence. That should be fun. Friday's video will be a writing exercise. I know Ro really likes those videos. This will be the first writing exercise in a very long time. I brought it back. I'm getting back into the swing of those videos. I need to catch up with last week's podcast. Flowers, I think you're really going to like that episode. Ken Achety, I've known for a very long time. He was also somebody I was dealing with when I was trying to pitch the show Laundry to MGM. So a very nice guy, excellent advice, excellent stories and stuff like that. There might be a government shutdown happening. Yeah, we're fine. We don't have enough money for it to matter. So Friday will also be a pre-recorded, and then it'll be a writing exercise. The exercise will show you revision exercises. This video will focus on the importance of revision and how it can help authors improve their writing. The exercise will involve revising previously written scenes or stories and analyzing the changes made. So that should be pretty exciting. As far as Saturday's video goes, Saturday's video is going to be another video on what is writing series, and we will be talking about pace, the speed at which information is presented to the reader. So that next Saturday's live is going to be me going over physical examples. I'm going to show you the difference between fast pace and slow pace. I'm going to show you how to do some fast pace into slow pace, some slow pace into fast pace. So basically, I'll show you some fast pace examples, then some slow pace examples, and then I'll show you an example of kind of mixing and matching. So that should be fun. Just to give you a visual, whenever somebody says pace, what is that? You'll be able to see it, and and of course, Sunday will be episode 39 of Write a Book Series, where we definitely finish chapter 27. Other than that, I got nothing to say. It's all been. By the way, thanks to everybody who's been on the Patreon tier. It's been growing. We got a new subscriber on the YouTube membership. So Holly, thank you very much. If you're listening on the playback or not, I'm really thankful that you join the aspiring artists, the aspiring authors. I will be working on, just for anyone. Oh, by the way, I made a typo. I meant I will alpha and or beta read. Sorry. It's all right, Ro. We don't judge you. For anyone who is a part of the tier for the book, okay, the $15 the scribe tier, just know I am currently working on a lesson series where it's basically educational. So if you're a part of that tier, there will be an additional class that is added to that. So not only will you get to read the chapters with some behind-the-scenes stuff, but you'll also be allowed to watch the videos that I will be creating for that class. It will not be a live class. It will be a pre-recorded class, but it is a writing class. I will gamma read. I like to gamma read. So keep that in mind. I will also be creating a artist. That same video, by the way, that will be for the scribe tier. I will also have another version of that is a little bit less dense, and that'll only be for the membership on YouTube. However, it'll just be a streamlined version of what's going to go on the scribe. The scribe is like a class. I will be teaching a class on that, and it'll I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but I know that I'm going to have more than one class. So if one of the classes ends, just know that I will be working on a second, third, fourth. I'm going to make a whole bunch of classes that are attached to the scribe, so you kind of get a big benefit, especially for the cost. Yeah. Other than that, thank you so much to everybody being here. Please, if you are a part of the Right Mindset Facebook group, please let us know on your successes and your victories, your wins. If you're having struggles, please comment in that group. I assure you I will answer and respond to everybody. Also, it is private, so no one outsiders can really look at it. But I want you to know I want to support you guys. So because you support me so much, I want to give you my time as much as I can. And if you say stuff Either you're friends with me on Facebook, Instagram, or social media. If you talk to me on the walls, I promise you, I will respond. I do not ignore people. I'm fairly quick with it, except for the time zones. Some of you live like 8 hours away from me in time. I'm sleeping when you're up. You know what I'm saying? No names, but Emma, Flowers. I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping when you're starting your day. I'm just saying. Anyway. Let's do it. We're going to get out of here. My name is Thomas J. Bellezza. I will see you next time. As always, keep developing the right mindset. Bye.